The Pac-12 currently sits at 7 members with 1 basketball-only member in Gonzaga for 2026. So what's next for the Pac-12? They need to add at least one more team in order to be eligible to be a conference in 2026. And so there's 2 schools that I think most likely will be added, if not definitely will be. Texas State, I think it's inevitable. The buzz has been there. The match is there. They want to get a foothold in Texas. Texas State will be a Pac-12 school. And then there's UNLV, a team where there's been increasingly more buzz that the Pac-12 might lure them away from the Mountain West. And I tend to think that's actually going to happen. There's also 3 big-time targets that they're looking at in the American Conference in Tulane, Memphis, and South Florida, maybe a little less so, but they're still in that conversation. I think if they're successfully able to land Texas State, UNLV, or just one of those 2, these are going to be the 3 schools they look at next and probably the ones they push for the hardest. And I actually think Tulane and Memphis will likely accept an offer if it's good enough. There's also a few other teams that I think are long shots, maybe for far future additions, the most likely of which are like Cal and Stanford. If the ACC collapses in the next 15 years, they might look to head back to the Pac-12, maybe get a little bit closer. UCLA is a team that's experiencing a bunch of financial strife right now, and they're not getting a full revenue share in the Big Ten. They might maybe look to see if they can eat something out of the Pac-12. And then Utah's another team where they just hate the Big 12 so much that if they can't get into the Big Ten or the ACC somehow, they might be interested in talking about a potential deal with the Pac-12. There's about 6 teams that have also been mentioned in realignment talks in association with the Pac-12, like North Texas and UTSA. I think that's if they whiff on Texas State, they'll go for one of these 2 to get a foothold in the state of Texas. Air Force was in the early discussions when the Mountain West was involved. I think those have eased up a little bit. UConn's independent would be a huge boost for basketball as well, so there's been some conversations there. St. Mary's is another basketball-only school that they might look to add, and GCU has also been talked about a little bit, but I think St. Mary's is the more likely of the 2. And then there's Sacramento State that's been lobbying for a Pac-12 invite really, really aggressively with their investment. And I think if all else fails, that could be what ends up happening. At the end of the day, my prediction for the 2026 season is that I think the Pac-12 lands Texas State, and I do think they finally lure over UNLV. They'll have these 9 members for football in 2026, and then I think they'll end up adding St. Mary's as well and have 2 basketball-exclusive schools, which will make a pretty solid basketball conference and a decent, probably the best group of 5 conference in college football. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think the fate of the Pac-12 will be?